for a second with you, man. You and I have talked a lot about his contract extension. We don't necessarily agree exactly on money, but we're not worlds apart where I'm going, you're wrong, it's never going to be there, and you're doing the same thing.
Right.
We both say, hey, the Broncos said they're going to negotiate in good faith. We both said that Courtland Sutton is certainly in line and deserving of a contract extension. And if you pay for what the stats say, well, he's a top 15 wide receiver in the NFL and is not getting paid as such. So over the weekend, it was reported by the Denver Post because Sutton was at, he's got some new candy. Sutton Sours, I guess.
Sutton Sours.
And he was out signing some stuff and signing candy and meeting the kids and doing all the cool stuff that you do when you're a Broncos country legend like Courtland Sutton is, and told the Denver Post that they are, quote, moving in the right direction, end quote, when it comes to his contract extension. So, Cecil, I'll ask you, you tell me, what does that mean to you, and when do you think, with this new update of moving in a right direction, means a deal gets done for 14?
Yeah, deals get done at deadlines, and right now, the deadline isn't really voluntary work, which should begin shortly. Like, we're here, dude. We're already kind of back. I was thinking about that this morning. I'm like, whoa. My life's about ready to get a lot busier real soon with rookie mini camp, with voluntary mini camp, OTAs, and then mandatory mini camp in June, and then vacation in July. But like, okay, when is that deadline? Do they have to get it done before voluntary? Not really. The draft is the draft. They've got to maintain their leverage. If they sign Courtland Sutton to a big deal in the next week, then everyone's going to come up at pick 20 and be like, well, Teteroa McMillan's still there, and the Broncos paid Courtland Sutton, so we don't have to worry about them taking him. The Steelers are going to take Shedeur because Shedur's still on the board or whatever, or whoever. Like, we don't have to worry about taking him. They need to maintain their leverage to the rest of the league of, like, I don't know. Working in good faith is what we're hearing, but everything is trending in a positive direction. So would I be surprised if, like, right after the draft, a deal is done with Courtland Sutton? No, I wouldn't be. Do they need to get it done then? No, they don't. So before the start of training camp, for sure, I'd almost say 100%. But right now, because they need to maintain their leverage in the draft, I think, you know, it's something where you're moving in the right direction, but they've got a pretty big event coming up in 10 days.
See, that's what I wondered when I saw this. All right, you say moving in the right direction. Does that mean they were told, is that him just acknowledging they said operating in good faith? That's moving in the right direction.
Well, and I would say this, there's probably more than that.
Okay.
Right. And, and another thing that we know from the news and information period of the offseason, if it wasn't going well, we'd know. If it wasn't
he'd let us know.
Moving in the right direction, we'd know. We'd know by the things that he didn't say. So the fact that he says this, I believe it's more than just the operating in good faith. That's all. Why we talk about old stuff? That's old information. That was from the owners' meetings a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. This is new information of like, yeah, they're moving in the right direction. That means, you know, numbers. I would say ballpark is something we need to talk about. Are they in a ballpark number? Did they just look at the Diggs deal and say, it's going to be around Stephon Diggs? And did the Broncos then in turn say, yeah, we know the market's changed. We're going to work with you on that.
Yeah.
That's moving in the right direction. So I believe numbers or ballpark numbers have already started to happen between the two sides, but it's something where deals get done at deadlines and there's really no deadline in the near future.
Mm-hmm. See, that's how I kind of took it too, of there has been a discussion and maybe it's been tabled for draft prep and things that happen.
Yes.
And I think Courtland and agent would understand that. And I think the Broncos would probably request that as well. But that's where my brain went of like, all right, agent threw out a number and even perhaps the Broncos went, whoa. That's a little too high. Here's our counter.
Right.
Now let's reset and reconvene once the draft is over with this initial conversation being tabled of we start very, very high. The Broncos start very, very low, knowing that both teams have some wiggle room. Both sides have some wiggle room, and they're ultimately going to meet in the middle. Now the question I want to ask you, I want to answer, and I want to get the input of the tribe in Broncos country on the RamosLaw.com text line, 303-713-1043. What do you want to see as far as years, guaranteed money, and what does Courtland have left in the tank for over or under, what if I said 1.5 more seasons of 1,000 yards?
Yeah, it's a 3-year deal that's effectively a 2-year deal.
Because the guaranteed money's up?
And because it's $23 million plus annual average salary, you would assume, so 3 years, 75 with 45 guaranteed, something like that.
Sure.
Right? And then that last year is like, he's got a $30 million hit that last year. Yeah, he's not going to play that last year. or they're going to rework and do some sort of new deal, which would be lesser because he'd be older. But like, yeah, it's a friendly deal for both sides. Courtland already played ball. And once you bank that, once you invest that, he invested in himself and he won. So once you have that investment, you're not going to take less. You're not going to take less if you're Courtland Sutton. And if you're the Broncos, you know what he did. I'm not saying he made you look bad. However, he bet on himself and he beat you.
Yeah.
You put incentives in that you felt comfortable, he could hit or maybe he wouldn't hit, but we'll see. He hit them all. And because he hit all those numbers and he got paid,
now
it's time to pay him because he already played ball with you. That was last year.
I really like your guaranteed number at 45.
Okay.
I really do.
Yeah.
I think the Broncos, if we learn in a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever the timeline may be, before week 1, game 1, that the Broncos signed Courtland Sutton to a 3-year, let's call it a nice $69 million and 45 of that guaranteed, I don't know who would be upset about that. That's a good deal for both sides.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should be upset by that. I mean, this is about as friendly as contract negotiations as you're going to hear about. Will they be as friendly with Nick Bonito? That's my question, because that's a much larger deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's a much larger deal.
Nick Bonito is, look, I like Courtland Sutton, despite what a lot of you think on the RamosLaw.com text line.
I know you like Courtland Sutton. I question if you like Jamal Murray, but I know you like Courtland Sutton.
Nick Bonito should be, knock on wood, fingers crossed, a part of this core for a decade. Courtland Sutton, all things go right, is still a part of this core for 5 more years max in my mind.
Ooh.
So it changes a little bit.
I think it's like 2.
Well, I said max.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I think it is 3 is probably the biggest, and you're talking about a 33, 34-year-old wide receiver at that point.
Well, and then here's the point. Go get Sutton a Super Bowl. Kev, be careful. I'm stumbling and I'm about cussing, but go get him a damn Super Bowl, right? Hey, Courtland Sutton, thanks. Here's a Super Bowl ring. Mm-hmm. And then he's going to go get paid again, probably by somebody else. But that's what you do. You have a window with Bo Nix on a rookie contract. And before his rookie contract is up, and I'm not talking about the 5th-year option and then franchise tag, in this next window of 3 years, you need 1 or more Super Bowl appearances.
Okay. And I say, let's call it a 3-year deal. And if I asked you over under 1.5 1,000 receiving yard seasons, what would you say?
I would say over.
He gets both in the next couple of years?
Yeah. He gets both. You go to a Super Bowl. I mean, who feels good if you're a Buffalo fan? Zach Bye, get as offended as you like. Who feels good if you're Buffalo? You lost the window you had with Josh, and now you got to pay him mega millions.
And you still have your coach on the payroll.
And he's not good.
And he's not good at all.
Yeah, so how good do you feel about that? You have an opportunity to do something special. Mm-hmm. And that's a Super Bowl with Bo Nix on a rookie deal.
Broncos country, our members of the tribe, weigh in on the RamosLaw.com text line 303-713-1043. Years and guaranteed dollars for